people. You have to adapt.
Better make sure you believe what you reppin' in. Make sure you mess with your messaging. It's about positive versus a negative. It's the life in our messages. You told the kids to get high off of sedatives. They wonder why you're accredited. What?
That's right.
You know what I mean. You know what I mean. Can't treat my woman like she just a team. She part of the team. You know what I mean.
Hey, you can call me crazy, but I thought we lived in a free country. You know what I'm saying, people?
Yeah.
And yet, you want to inflict your religion upon me?
Hey.
You want to inflict Christianity upon me? Fuck you. This is a free fucking country. We know what you are. We know what you are. We know Trump's not really religious. He's not really religious, people. But he's made a deal with some really, really religious people, and they're very dangerous, and they're the new Nazi party. Nazis pushed for the Aryan race, which was made up and fake. I don't think the Aryan race is really a thing. I think it's just some crap that people with less pigment in their skin made up to justify the atrocities. I know. I'm a liberal snowflake, but before I became a liberal snowflake, actually, I think I always was. I think you're born a liberal snowflake, and I like the term snowflake. I think it's lovely. If you force your religion upon people, you're kind of a Nazi. If you force any belief system on anybody, if you infringe upon the freedom of thought, which was the ethos behind the Constitution of the United States, if you infringe upon my right to be a mother freaking left-handed atheist, then you have destroyed what America was founded for. Freedom of thought. Nobody wants to lose their freedom of thought. And that's why they wrote the best phrase in the Constitution that clearly established that church and state must remain separate, because the minute the church gets inside the state, or the state gives into the church, anyone who doesn't believe in that particular religion becomes a victim. Eventually, even other Christians will be targeted because you might not be Christian in the way they want you to be Christian. You feel me? Some of y'all think it's not a threat. Some of y'all think you're safe. And if you're that kind of person, I would say, I don't know about all that. Trump's ascendancy is very similar to Adolf Hitler's. Very similar. He's using democracy to destroy democracy. It's an old trick. It's not like Trump came up with it. He's just copying Hitler. He loves Hitler. Listen to him talk about Hitler. Don't take it from your brother Seamus. You don't have to believe me. Why should you believe me? Just because I've been a psychologist for 30 years and graduated at the top of my class? I really did. And I'm telling you, even though I'm an atheist, I'm telling you right now, Donald John Trump, little Donnie Poops his pants, is an antichrist. A version of an antichrist. I'm an atheist. I don't really believe in all that shit. Pardon me. But if you believe in God, shit, I'll give you a ride to church, bro. If you tell me you believe in Jesus and you want to go to church and your car is broke down, I'll give you a ride because I believe in protecting your right to believe what you believe. You start putting up the 10 commandments in public schools, whoo, people, you are playing with fire. You are playing with fire. Want me to compromise off of the cash. Couldn't get out of my back for a bag. Told me that it wasn't logical. Told them that it's all impossible till you adapt. They using lyrics as evidence. Better make sure you believe what you rapping in. Make sure you mess with your messaging. It's about positive versus a negative. It's that life in our messages. You told the kids to get high off of sedatives. They wonder why you're accredited. What? Thanks for tuning in, people. The phone lines are open. Like she's just a team, she part of the team, you know what I mean? Just about the most un-American thing you can do is steal somebody's freedom of thought. Even if you think Christianity is the way, and I support you on that. Hell, let me tell you something here, people. I came up Christian. Well, Irish Catholic, but you know, close enough. There's all kinds of religions out there. We escaped tyranny. And now Mr. Trump wants to bring it back because he thinks it's cool, he'll get a lot of power, and he's desperate because if you lose, little Donnie boy, you're going to probably go to jail. Maybe not for very long. You might get like a federal... You're probably going to get like a federal holiday prison, they call them, but it's still prison. You might get an ankle bracelet down there at Mar-a-Lago. Shit, man. We don't know what's going to happen to you, but there's a chance. There's a chance, little Donnie, if you don't win, you're going to the big house, buddy. You're going right on up to the big house. Here's the thing, even if you support Trump and love Trump, and I do want to be respectful of the fact that some people genuinely love the guy, and I do think he's a genius. Let me change up the tunes here. That was one of my favorite rap tunes, and we'll come back to it. I used it as a soundtrack for, I think it's my third or fourth musical comic strip, I guess you'd call it. And I use that song, and it's on my TikTok, Brother Seamus Show on TikTok. You can hear it how it's meant to be heard. I can't play it, ironically, I can't play it for you on my live stream without slowing it down 50% so that the bots don't come and eat my face, because sometimes the bots, they do bad things to you people. But I have other tunes. So we'll get back. I'll show you the comic strip in a minute, but I wanted to get on about, I don't even remember what I was talking about. If you're forcing your religion on people. Oh, I was just going to change up the tunes. That's right. Here we go. Here we go. All right. Smoke them if you got them. Brother Seamus got to put on his readers because he ain't young. He ain't some kind of young buck. Let's see. I think we're going to go with a classic Oh Yeah by Sam Kenny. Let's hear it. There we go. That kind of works for me. Now, Sam downloaded some new music. We're going to get to that in a minute, but I want to get back to what I was saying a minute ago. MAGA is Nazis. Okay, you feel me? MAGA is Nazis. All right, that's pretty good. That's pretty good groove. Let's keep it going. I'm going to turn up the music a little bit. That feels about right. MAGA is Nazis. MAGA is Nazis. MAGA is Nazis. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. MAGA is Nazis. MAGA is Nazis. That's MAGA is Nazis. Cause MAGA is Nazis. MAGA is Nazis. Cause MAGA is Nazis. All right, that'll probably have to be the show title for today. MAGA is Nazis. I said MAGA is Nazis. Is Nazis. MAGA is Nazis. MAGA is Nazis. Yes, right. MAGA is Nazis. Yeah. MAGA is Nazis. MAGA is Nazis. MAGA is Nazis. All right, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. Those are some nice beats there. Some nice beats. Too much echo there. It's good for when I'm getting my chanting on. I don't consider myself a rapper. Let's be clear. I'm not trying to claim that I am rapping. I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't care because it's just fun. I encourage you to do it too, whatever your thing is. I like to think of it as chanting, preaching, comedy, variety hour. That's kind of what the show is. Got to clean up my "we'll be right back" sign. I'm still here actually, but I want to gotta clean it up a little bit. It's a little off kilter. Phone number is centered. It's centered incorrectly. Let's give it a little nudge. We're going to just nudge it, people. I'd say the weakest part about... I'm using OBS, Open Broadcast. I forget what it stands for. Open Broadcast Stuff. That's what we're going to call it. But OBS is a system you can use at home to broadcast your show. And I think everybody should at least think about what kind of show would they do. Because we can all have our own show. I mean, come on. Now, if you elect someone, this is just a practical example. If you elect someone like Mr. Trump, there won't really be anything in the public trust, and that includes like public access television. So unless you're rich, unless you own a media company, or unless you can make them a lot of money, you won't really have public access. You'll have private control of the airways. It'll all be designed to make money, and there won't be much regulation at all. If you're the kind of person that thinks no regulation is a good idea, then that's probably you know, if you want to help Trump destroy the public good, then you probably should vote that way. And in fact, if you're that kind of person, you probably are going to vote that way. And you can go ahead and click the channel, kind of go over to your crazy channel where you worship money as a god. Don't worship money as a god. Modern psychology tells us quite clearly that while poverty is terrible for your mental health, poverty really is terrible for your mental health. It changes your physical health too, they think now. I think there's evidence. There's at least preliminary evidence that racism, poverty, both of those things combined, I think, I believe it completely. I think the evidence is beginning to show that those things actually affect your physical health. Racism and poverty make you sick. Some of you young voters may hear the slogan, "Make America Great Again," and think, oh, are we going to go back to the 60s, the civil rights? It's like, no. If you're not sure, let me just, Trump doesn't want to go back to the 60s, people. He wants to go back to the 50s, where racism was rampant, bullying was rampant, homophobia. People would beat and kill people. They still do, for being gay. That's what Trump wants to go back to. He wants to go back to a time where white men could beat their wives to death and face no consequences because it was a crime of passion, or her wiles made him beat her to death. That's what Mr. Trump wants. He wants to go back to where you can beat the shit out of your wife, and then maybe they put you in jail for a half hour. And then you go back and eventually kill her. And I don't want to hear all this crap about white men being under threat. That's just total bullshit. You might lose a little bit of privilege here and there. Who's the snowflakes? White men crying about things aren't fair for white men. What a crock, people. Come on. I'm a white man, or at least I'm white peach. White peach? No, light peach. I like the colors. I don't think we need to say black or white anymore. Let's retire that language. It's kind of dehumanizing and artificially separates us. So let's retire the black and white concept. And let's go with, the color wheel. I like to say I'm light peach, and yes, I realize I'm at my screen, my face is mostly black, but I love my color filters, and I use mostly ambient light, and today it's rather cloudy here in Walla Walla, Washington, where we're coming at you live on Q109 FM, and out there on Facebook. Humans for Democracy is our host. TikTok, Brother Seamus Show. We can't live stream there yet because I don't have 1,000 followers yet. So if you don't mind, please go to TikTok, follow me, and then we'll be live over there at the same time. We'll go live in 3 places at once, people. I think that'd be pretty fun. Don't quite know how to do it yet, but let me adjust the light on camera 1 because the sky in Walla Walla, Washington, as I mentioned, is kind of gray today, so I like it though. It's making my darker colors darker, which is for my money pretty awesome. All right, let's lighten it up a little. You want to see my light peach skin? Doesn't seem to be going up very much, though, does it? It's going up too slow. Let's try over here. There we go. Okay. Can you see my light peach, people? Still a little dark, isn't it? That's all right. Let's go up real bright. That's too bright. Now I'm starting to look like Casper. Casper the Friendly Ghost. See that scar right there, people? I got that over there at the dermatologist's office. I had a suspicious something there. It wasn't really suspicious. He didn't think it was suspicious. But my family, they said, you got to get that checked out. And he said, let's just remove it, and then they'll stop bugging you. And I said, I like the way you think, doctor. And then his nurse, out of nowhere, I mean, it was like the fastest procedure I've ever had. I turned around, she stuck a needle in my cheek, made it numb, and then she got out the electronic ice cream scooper, and it just like scooped my skin right off my face, people. And I could smell it burning. But you know what? I'd rather have that than cancer. When in doubt, cut it out, people. That's how I feel about Donnie Trump. If you're not sure about Mr. Trump, if you have questions about Mr. Trump, I think your questions are valid. And I think if you're a Christian especially, you should be questioning the doctrine. You should question any candidate who runs for office whose main goal is that they want to hurt immigrants. That's like been his thing since the beginning. He separated children from their parents on purpose. And no, Obama didn't do it. No president other than Donnie, who's going to jail, Trump, has made an order with the help of his very corrupt sidekick, Stephen Miller. They wanted to inflict terror upon the children. They really did. You can read all about this. You don't have to take it from me. You can read the order itself. It's on record at the archive. Attorney General, if you're a young voter and you're just joining us, this is just a little, one of the top 10 reasons that you should never vote for a man or maybe any human with Trump as a last name. This is one of the many reasons, is he intentionally inflicted psychological trauma on children. He knew he was inflicting psychological trauma on children. He did it with glee. He had help from then Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Jeff Beauregard Sessions, I believe, was the one who suggested we'll need to start taking away children. And that's exactly what Mr. Trump did. So when families got caught coming across the border, they took the children away from the parents, locked the parents up separately from each other, and put the kids in detention centers where they had very little care. 6 of those children died. I think mostly of, preventable deaths like influenza. They weren't getting treatment. They were being ignored. And they were in a horrible state of trauma because Mr. Trump wanted it so. He's a genius at communicating. He's a genius at tricking you. And he's a genius at making you think that the Mexicans are your enemies. They're our neighbors. And you know what? Without them, our economy would fall apart. Just ask anybody that runs a business, especially an agricultural or construction business, timber, processing plants, meat, butchering plants. If we didn't have immigrants here, we'd be effed. People, let me tell you something here. We'd be effed in the bee if we didn't have immigrants. And I don't care if you like that idea or not. I'm not saying it to win political points. I'm saying it because I want you to come back to reality. Mr. Trump wants to deport all these people. That will destroy our economy, whether we like it or not. You don't have to like it. But if Mexican folks and other Central and South American folks weren't willing to work for wages that are insulting, if they weren't willing to work for such low wages, the United States economy would drop like a rock. I don't even need a degree in economics to understand that. My MAGA is Nazi sign is blocking my dramatic exposition here, people. I better fix that up. Oh my God, it won't go off. It just keeps flashing. What's happening? It's like the universe wants you to realize that MAGA is Nazis, people. All right, what was I saying? I think I already made my point, but I'm going to make it again. Without immigrants, would be effed in the B, economically speaking. For all of you people that talk about Trump like, oh, well, I think, economically his tax plan was superior. It's like, yeah, okay, we can talk about his tax plan. He wants to deport millions of people that keep our economy going. Americans do not want those jobs, or those jobs are in places where there are no Americans. It's that simple, people. And here's how you can prove it to yourself. You don't need your brother Seamus. You don't need your brother Seamus preaching at you all the time. Okay? You just go talk to anybody that runs one of those businesses. Or ask yourself, that's one way to prove it. Just ask the farmer in Garden City, Kansas, how much he can afford to pay for some of the most difficult labor you could do. They're doing the jobs with the most difficult labor. They're filling potholes at 1 o'clock in the morning on rickety bridges and risking their lives to help build our economy. If we really didn't want them here, and Trump already knows this, and this is why it's all a scam, this whole invasion thing is a scam, he needs you to be scared. But if it was really a problem, Trump could have said to all the people employing immigrants without papers, they would have said, hey, we're making it a federal crime. It probably already is, to employ non-citizens without authorization. They could shut down. Immigration would stop if there were no jobs here. I mean, it wouldn't stop. There'd still be people looking for safe havens, but the numbers would drop dramatically. See what I did there? I was hyperbolic, and I walked it back. Because I think that's the job. That's Brother Seamus's job. I'm an atheist, but I'm going to say God appointed me to try to talk some sense into people that are getting tricked by fear-mongering, otherizing, and dehumanization. Those will be on the exam. I hope you took notes on that. Whenever you start referring to another group of people as insects or vermin, or however you want to think about it, when you start using those words, which is exactly what Mr. Trump has done, which is the most unchristian thing a leader could do ever. It's the most unchrist-like thing a leader could do. Calling humans vermin. Calling humans vermin invites people to assault them. Because it gives them permission, right? It gives them permission by saying, oh, these people aren't human, really. They're subhuman. That's exactly what Adolf Hitler did. Donald Trump is copying Adolf Hitler. And if you don't believe me, watch the Netflix special that it's come out in the last few months. I think it's called Evil on Trial. The Nazis, Evil on Trial. It's on Netflix. Oh, wait, I have a clip of it sitting right here. Let me see if I can pull that clip up for you. It's exactly what genocidal maniacs have done since the dawn of time. They convince you that you're being invaded and you need to protect yourself. See, that's one way to scare you. And the other is that these are subhuman people. They're infecting us. We need to purify our race. That was Hitler's whole thing, man. Trump is Hitler 2.0. Where is my blinking sign that says MAGA is... Where'd it go? There it is. He's copying Hitler. If you're just joining us, you don't really have to be that big of, you don't have to be that accomplished of an historian to see what's happening. Forcing Christianity into the government. That's their goal. The Nazis forced their ideology. I don't think they really forced Christianity, but they forced this idea that there was a pure white race. And that's a big part of it too. See? I'm using the word Nazis pretty loose here, but the idea in MAGA is to enforce far-right Christian ideology on everyone. And they'll admit it. Trump's not really a Christian. He's a faker. But MAGA is Nazis, people. Believe you me. MAGA is Nazis. Oh, yeah. Oh. So I say hell no. I say patriotism has no religion. If I'm an atheist and you're a Christian or a Muslim or a Buddhist, I'll give you a ride to your service if it's important to you, because that's what a neighbor would do. That's what Jesus would do. So when Trump violently separates, emotionally traumatizes children on purpose, is that something Jesus would do? Would Jesus... And you can look at, I dare you to go Google the images from the child separation policy. Go read the policy yourself. It's on the National Archives. I'm not going to do your homework for you, people. You got to go look it up. But ask yourself, is that something that Jesus would do? I'm an atheist, but I know Jesus was right. I'm not quibbling with Jesus about his basic message. I'm just not sure I believe in gods or God and quite the same. I mean, God to me is the universe, man. How about my new coffee cup? Can you see it? Let's get it right in there. That's made in America right there. I think. I don't know. Would Jesus separate children from their parents? No, Obama didn't do it. There were teenagers that arrived independently who were detained. That's not separating children. That's a 16-year-old crossing the border of their own free will, thinking they got a shot. And maybe they do. You know, at 16, I might have crossed a border. If there was no work here, you telling me you wouldn't cross the border? Bullshit. Bullshit. If the situation was reversed, I know about 60% of you motherfuckers would be sneaking right over the border into Mexico like, man, I got some jobs down here. I'm not worried about a border. I ain't gonna hurt nobody. I'm going to work, people. I got to make the skrill. I've been wanting to use the word skrill for a while now. I'm happy that it just came to me like that. I gotta make the skrill, people. If the situation was reversed, you would want compassion. And you would say, rightfully so, if you went down to Mexico and you worked, you might say, hey, I'm just trying to take care of my family. And that's what Mexicans are doing. Mexicans, Central and South Americans, some of them are fleeing for their lives from gangs. What would Jesus say? He'd say, be compassionate, help them flee the gang. Jesus had a very clear message, and somehow y'all distorted it by worshiping money and power. Y'all distorted the message, which is you help these folks. That's why I want you to think about Mr. Trump wants you to hate them. He wants you to hate them so freaking much that he's now referring to them as vermin. And white people, you should also be aware, you're vermin too. White Americans like me who support the idea that we can have a sensible immigration policy where people can come here and work. Reagan kind of did it. They can get guest work visas. They come and work. They can make some money. They help our economy. It's a win-win. But Trump wants you to be afraid. If you take only one thing away from this broadcast ever, this is it. He wants you to be afraid. Because that increases the chance that if you're afraid that you'll take violent action against brown-skinned people who came here to work, or people that came here to flee a climate situation or a violent situation over which they had no control. What would Jesus do? Do you think he'd lock them up in concentration camps? That's what Mr. Trump wants to do. You want to vote for Trump? You're voting for concentration camps. And then don't you dare call yourself a Christian. Don't you dare. I'm an atheist, and I can spot an evildoer a mile away, people. This is the Brother Seamus Show. Donald Trump, I believe in my strongly held opinion that rises to the level of a religious belief. I believe that Donald Trump is an antichrist. I won't say the antichrist, because I think there are a whole bunch of them. You know, I'm not tied to the idea that there can only be one kind of God. I don't really believe in gods, but if there are gods, there's probably more than one type. And I think Trump is one of many. I think Hitler was also an antichrist. They come along rarely. And there usually is something about their ability to communicate. Trump was born a multi-millionaire. He never worked a day in his life. He's never been accountable to anyone for anything until he recently was found guilty of sexual assault. And then he was found guilty again of fraud. And he'll probably be found guilty at least 2 more times if he doesn't become president. He's an unusual type of evil. I've been a psychologist for 30 years, and I can tell you, he's an unusual type of evil. And if we don't get a handle on that, he is going to rip the guts out of this thing we call freedom. Because if you can justify forcing your religion on me, what won't you justify? And that's what the Nazis were all about. Now, Donnie, he's a brilliant communicator. I would say rises to the level of a genius communicator, but he's also somehow a dumbass. And that'll be his great undoing. Is that he doesn't know when to stop. Now, personally, because I think he's an antichrist figure, because he intentionally uses subhuman terms to talk about Mexican immigrants or any immigrants that come here to work. If they're not white, preferably men, preferably straight, born here with a lot of money, Trump's not really that interested in what they have to say. So think about that. If you're one of the 81 million people who didn't vote last time in the presidential election, Biden got 81, Trump got 74, 81 million didn't vote. Now, I know you want to argue about Trump being cheated, but fucking prove it, man. Quit talking about that shit. It's so stupid. Prove it or shut up. That's what you're sorry. Brother Seamus getting a little harsh with you here, but Jesus Christ. Put up or shut up. Where's your fucking evidence, man? I'm not even saying that like that I think you're lying, but it's like I think you believe this shit. Where's your evidence? You don't have any. You never did. But that's a testament to how good Donald Trump is at using emotional logic to trick you. Okay? He says things that aren't true, but, you know, when your team loses, I understand. We all want... I'm going to darken this back up. We all want our team to win, people. We all want our team to win. But when your team loses, You don't get to hang people. You don't get to hang Mike Pence just because your team lost. Okay? All right, I'm trying to get you an image here. I'm going to download this. Let's bookmark it. Let's save that image. And then open her right up. Well, shoot, I don't have the right plug-in for that image. Sorry about that, people. I was going to show you something. I think what we get tricked into is being overstimulated right here. Right here. See that? That's the amygdaloid body, people. That's the amygdaloid body right there. Now, you may be saying, "What the Brother Seamus? What the hell is amygdaloid body?" Well, I'll tell you what it is. It's a tiny little part of your brain that assesses threats. So when Trump says there's an invasion, when really it's just a bunch of people coming to work or fleeing for their lives that Jesus would want us to be kind to, and you know that's what Jesus meant, and somehow the evangelical Christians agree with Trump that we should attack other human beings simply because they're not white Americans. They don't drive up the crime rate. That's bullshit. That's some shit they feed into your amygdala. There's no evidence that they drive the crime rate up at all. In fact, it looks like in some areas more immigrants means less crime, which makes sense if you think about it. Because if you sneak into Mexico to go to work, like you know you would if there were no jobs here, if you snuck into Mexico, you would keep a low profile because you don't want to get arrested. So not only do I want to tell you not to let Mr. Trump trick you into being afraid of these folks by way of your amygdala. If somebody says there's an invasion, oh my God, they're rapists and murderers and drug addicts, and oh my God, they're going to rape all the white ladies. That's what they want you to think. There's just no evidence of it happening. Yes, violent crimes happen, and sometimes the criminals are immigrants, but more often, way more often, they're your average white American male. That's who does most of the violence in our culture. Mr. Trump should know he's been convicted of sexual assault by a jury of his peers and a jury that he helped pick. You may say it's rigged, and you may say E. Jean Carroll was lying. You can believe that, but that no one on the jury, even Trump supporters on the jury, no one believed Trump. And he didn't take the stand. You know why? He's a coward. He's a coward. And, what's he going to say? He'd only incriminate himself because he knows it's true. And the jury felt that way. So he wants you to think that the rapists are the Mexicans. But a jury of Americans has decided Mr. Trump's the rapist. Or at least we'll say sexual abuser. I don't think they agreed on the word rape. Doesn't matter. The raper is telling you to be afraid of the Mexicans and saying they're the rapers, when we know he's the raper. And it hits your brain. It hits your amygdaloid body. Looks like it's about the size of a pea. And it infuses your system with, let's call them reactionary hormones and neuropeptides and adrenaline. And it makes you think you got to take action right away. And then Mr. Trump being as unlike Jesus as possible, tells you should hate those people because they're infecting your society, when what they're actually doing is helping build the economy. As Dave Chappelle pointed out, how much do you think your strawberries are going to cost if you deport all the strawberry pickers? So I hope you'll think about giving up social media altogether. I hope you'll think about talking to people, going outside. I think social media is so toxic. I think we're just beginning to understand how toxic it is, and you can see effects on teenagers, but it's affecting adults too. If you're a mentally vulnerable adult, it's quite possible that social media will fill you so full of upsetting lies that you'll take violent action. It's possible. So don't lie to yourself. If you're vulnerable, get off of social media. Don't watch this show. You don't have to believe me. Talk to any psychologist anywhere and say, hey, do you think the constant exposure to social media gets me more distressed than I should be? And the answer is yes. Now, for a small group of people, that will turn into violent behavior. But when you have someone like Donald Trump out there preaching the gospel of violence, preaching an anti-Jesus, he's preaching anti-Jesus thought and action. And many in the Republican Party, like Jeff Beauregard Sessions, are happy to help that out. Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas wants you to violently interact with peaceful protesters. He wants you to aggressively, physically go after peaceful protesters. That's unchristian, bro. He claims to be a Christian. And remember what we learned. I'll leave you with this thought. Remember what we learned from the book of Revelations. That when the devil returns, he'll disguise himself as a Christian. And maybe, I'm right. Maybe that's Donald Trump. Maybe he's here. I don't think it's end times. I don't believe in that shit. I think end times is going to come. End times is going to come one way or another, but I think we're hastening it along quite rapidly with climate change. If you believe in clean air, clean water, clean thoughts, clean ideas, watch the Brother Seamus Show, and please stop listening to shit you find on social media. And if you want to join my cult, I have only one rule. In my cult, you must always and only think for yourself. Think for yourself.